how's it going, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of the Beat Kitchen. Today we're going to be keeping it real hip hop. We're going to be making a sample-based beat. Our ingredients today are the sample, drums, and bass. That's pretty much all we're rocking with. The cool thing about today is that we're going to be getting our sample off of 45, a very overlooked medium in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people don't really mess with 45s because they get a lot dirtier than LPs when you find them inside of record stores and things like that. And a lot of times, in these days, LPs are almost the same price as 45s in a lot of instances. So people usually run with LPs before 45s, but I feel like 45s are an overlooked medium, so we're going to go ahead and rock with this one and see what we come up with. All right, and what we're going to talk about first is the drums. And when it comes to the drums, I make a lot of real chill hip hop type stuff, so typically the drum pattern kind of reflects that. I'm a big fan of ghost notes, big fan of swing, so definitely going to add both of those to it. And I always start off with the drums just because, the rhythm section is a really important part of hip hop beats. And most of my beats are really chill and kind of relaxed, so usually the drum pattern kind of reflects that. Now, the drum pattern that I have here kind of goes like this. Now, when it comes to the rhythm section of chill hip hop beats or older hip hop beats, a lot of sample-based stuff, it's really important to have a certain groove and a certain feel to it. I'm a big fan of using ghost notes with the kick and the snare, and a lot of times with the hi-hat I shift it a little bit throughout the performance to kind of give it that groove. And I really am a big fan of having that groove inside of a hip-hop beat, especially if you're working with sample-based stuff. The drums is where I typically have most of my fun when it comes to sample-based beats, and obviously when the sample comes in, that's really when you start getting down to the nitty-gritty. Alright, so let's talk about the sample. This is what I lifted from that particular 45. Now, a lot of this is just kind of open chords, lets you kind of work with it a little bit easier. There's a little bit of talking that comes in towards the middle and end. But really, when it comes to samples, a lot of times you just really need small parts that you can work with and manipulate and kind of take it from there. So this is kind of the beginning of where I got the sample from, but let's go ahead and dive into how I chopped it. So real basic pattern. I mean, really it's, nothing too crazy. That's kind of what I'm working with as far as the sample goes. As you can see, I chopped it up pretty nice and kind of worked off of that. All right, so I gave you guys a little bit of a taste of the bass line while I was playing the drums back. When it comes to bass lines, typically I like playing them on my bass guitar to the beat. So I had my drums and my sample playing, kind of worked out exactly where those notes are on the bass guitar. What I came up with, I transferred over to the MPC, essentially getting the same notes, but just playing them on the MPC so I can kind of sequence them a little bit nicer. And a lot of times I like filtered bass lines that are kind of, sample based and not necessarily played directly from the bass sometimes, just because it kind of gives it more of that old school feel. But yeah, so the bass line that I came up with is like this right here. So real simple, It's a really simple bass line, but really, is minimal and really kind of adds to that sound, adds that low end that you need for these old school hip hop beats. And I really love having a simple bass line. A lot of the people that I look up to are like, Kev Brown, Pete Rock, and DJ Premier. So that's kind of the bass tone that I typically go for. All right, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in to the second episode of the Beat Kitchen. This one's dedicated to the good old 45. We, conquered it. I think we did a good job with that particular beat. If you guys like what you hear, definitely subscribe and check out some of the other stuff on the page. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. Peace.